Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the 119th session, 11th Council, the special meeting tonight. At this time, I don't need a motion to excuse any council people because they're in their own route. They're just running a little late, so they should be here for Councilman Nicholson and Councilman McGinnis. Roll call.
Carrington.
Yes. Present.
Goodman.
Here.
James.
Here.
McGinnis. Nicholson. Parker.
Here.
Rutherford. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, can I have a motion? I'm sorry. Well, we have to change the whole agenda because it's not on the agenda, so you want me to amend the agenda? It's up to you. Okay.
I make a motion to amend the agenda. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna get there.
Okay, cool beans.
Can I get a motion to approve to agenda?
Motion.
Support.
It's outside.
Come on, guys. Let's keep order. Okay. At this time, is there any amendments to tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to amend the agenda so that we can add prayer.
Second by who?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford and second by Councilman Parker to amend the agenda to add a prayer, and we can actually add that as right before agenda address. Roll call, please.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Parker. Yes. Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes. At this time, can I roll call to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
We already have, it's already been moved. And
Carrington.
second. Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Thank you. At this time, Pastor Parker, in prayer.
Thank you. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, Lord God, we come this evening first giving you thanks for the marvelous day that you have allowed us to enjoy. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your concern. And precious God, our Father, we ask now that you would guide our thoughts, our hearts, and our minds as we discuss the business that you have placed on our hearts today, Lord God. We ask that you would move in this place, that we would be in one accord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. At this time, we have agenda address. You have 2 minutes to address the council. Mr. Kermit Williams.
Okay. Good evening, Pro Tem Carrington, City Council members, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Just had a couple quick questions in regards to the road millage. Really want to hear, I thought it was going to be a presentation first before agenda address, but my major questions is timeline, true cost, and what streets would be taken care of. Those are the 3 questions that I have forward, and I know there's a lot of people that are interested about that. And then can you break down what each section would look like in that proposal? Also, if it doesn't make the ballot or the council votes it down today, what steps would be triggered then? Are you going to go back after it at a later date, or what is the plan? Thank you.
Next would be Ms. Patrice Waterman.
Good evening, members of council, executive office. My former colleague, Mr. Williams, came up and asked us several of them that I was going to ask, but my major is how did this proposal come to be? And I need to know the outline of this proposal. And, I guess I question that there are several things going on in this city that have not come to fruition. And now you want to bring a bond on the citizens of Pontiac. I just need to know what the cost is going to be to our citizens of Pontiac. How long is this bond supposed to go out for? I know in previous, when we were in council, it was going to take $200 million to cover the roads in the city of Pontiac. And I'm hoping that if this was to be, are these going to be local streets? Are they going to be going into subdivisions? How are you going to outline it? Is it going to, what districts are going to be covered? It's just a whole lot of questions that need to be answered. And I do believe if something like this was supposed to be rolled out, we should have had town hall meetings so everybody would be able to understand what this millage is going to incur. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waterman. Mr. Renee Beckley.
My problem is you asked her for $114 million. You're about to tax everybody out of the city with that. We don't have money to pay that. We're not made of money. This is not Bloomfield Hills, and they probably would not want it. Or any Grosse Pointe or all those rich cities. You had to tax, I guess, 6 months after you got into office, and you're asking for another one. That is too excessive, and you know better. And Tim, if that go up, you start paying it, you're going to slip back to Auburn Hills to live. So, and then you got the south side, you got a 911 situation. They blocked in. Something catch a fire and they jump from house to house. The fire department can't get there in time because you got everything blocked off. They got to go all the way around. I mean, you got both sides. You got Bagley and Franklin Road blocked off on both sides with the streets in between. That does not make sense. Now you have the Phoenix Center blocked off, and now you got the southbound side of Bagley. So those people are basically trapped. Some mass shooter coming there like they did in Philadelphia start popping. They have no place to go. They have no place to run in their cars. But you got them blocked in. And you asked them for $114 million, asking a poor city where you have people standing in the food line getting clothes all wrapped around buildings. And you asked them for them to pay $114 million in a road millage. You could do a little piece at a time. That's common sense. Now, if you ask for $14 million, it might pass. But 100, no, triple-digit budget in Pontiac, Michigan. Think about it. Every week I see something, agenda amendment, transferring this fund to that fund, this fund, that fund. You really don't have the money. Don't ask us for it. I'm not voting for $114 million because the school did one. Well, that one, I guess it was 146. I'm tired of these triple-digit villages and taxes. I don't pay taxes.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you, Ms. Beckley. Mr. Chris Norcross.
Good evening, Chris Northcross, 168 Astorwood. I've driven on streets here in Pontiac and been around streets on Pontiac for over 70 years. And I've used them. And I know they have to be replenished and replaced. I'm here tonight to just hear what the plan is. So I'm open. I've got an open mind. So I was just hoping to hear what the plan is for replacing and replenishing and upgrading our streets and improving our whole transportation system here.
Thank you, Mr. Norcross. Ms. Irene Wright.
Good afternoon. I come here, first of all, to say thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you're going to do. However, given the fact that we're talking about a millage that will encumber us for the next 30 years, I have problems with that. First of all, as a landowner and property owner, you know, I take great pride in my city. I understand the fact that we need new roads. That's never been an issue. But I think the format that you're using is going to cost us too much. Now, let me first of all give you an example. I want to put Marie Antoinette over on this side, okay? As landlords now and as homeowners, the many people that are in here are older people. We probably could afford that. But if you're looking for $30 million, I would like to see generational wealth with my kids. I do not want them to be encumbered for something that I took part of. There are other parts that I'm concerned about. If you take in that much money, how are you going to expend it? Are you going to keep some for 2, 5, 15, 30 years? Or are you going to try to spend it all at one time? Impact and intentions are thoroughly different. And I'm quite sure the mayor, the deputy mayor, had a lot of their impact. But the impact on us is going to be completely resolved to the point that we may lose our houses. Nobody's thinking about that. If we do not pay those taxes, each year they go up. We don't pay those taxes, we're going to lose our, not myself, because probably I won't be here, but my children. I'm more concerned about what's going to happen to them than anything else. Now, I'm going to take back Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette never listened to the people. She did what she wanted to do, and they beheaded her. So for you guys, please listen. I'm not saying you don't have to do it. I'm just saying take it in incremental steps. Look at what the impact is going to be for us. We don't have the type of money that this will cost. And so with that, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Ms. Linda Watson. Then Carlton Jones is on deck.
I'm piggybacking on Ms. Wright. I am not for a bond issue at this time. There's not enough information that has been presented. One thing that I learned from the other millage when they were trying to do the transportation thing, the city of Pontiac was down the road 5 or 6 years. And you wanted us to do a meal for that for 5 years, and we have nothing. And now you want to make us responsible for $14 million. Can you tell me the plan? What streets are going to be taken care of? You burden us, and you give tax abatements to outsiders. But what do you do for the citizens? Now, Mayor Greibel, before you got in office and last year, I asked you about that home exemption for those of us who have kept our properties for our children. We're already paying the higher tax rate. You do not need to charge us rental. Do you really think we would let our property go down with our children living in it? If we have a problem with our children, we can take care of it. Do something for us for a change. You bring everybody in, you give them tax abatements, they tell you they're going to bring this many jobs. But do you have a contract compliance officer to see if they actually bring the people and maintain them? No. We're the first ones hired and the first ones laid off. So we really don't have those jobs that they always claim that they're giving us.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Mr. Jones.
Good evening. I want to say that truly, some of us truly understand this process, and we realize this right now is not the vote. We realize this is the options, and I think that's okay when we truly understand people trying to put options on the table, because we understand when they come around to get it to the real vote, the people of the city will make the decision. So don't think that we don't know that. I think the problem that I see, and it was quite evident Tuesday, that it seems as though we did not get buy-in in doing this process. And that continuously to happen where we're not getting buy-in through subcommittees and things. Why is it that we just now hearing about that we're thinking about doing something for the roads? I mean, this is a city that should be working together hand in hand with administration and council, but the council seemed like they weren't really in tune to this process. That is the big problem that I see with both of these issues. The marijuana issue, there's been a process that's been turned upside down, and then this bond issue process for us to be able to get information properly to digest it so it's something we can say, yeah, let's put it to the people together. I think it should have went through a subcommittee before, whomever, mayor in the administration took the efforts to put somebody engaged in this for a while. And who's ever over that area, it seems like it should have went through one of the council's people subcommittee. So we had a chance to digest it and know about it. So if some things be handled this way, it's the process that we have a problem with. And I didn't get a lot of information on it last week when I heard the presentation. Then I had a lot of questions. And I'm not saying ultimately it's not an option to propose, but let's do that collectively, that we can propose options that we all know what we're trying to do. And last thing I want to say is there's infrastructure money coming to do a lot of infrastructure work. Why would we not have an opportunity to see what kind of infrastructure work we can have in our city before we take on the debt? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Dr. Waterman.
And as a housekeeping item, please put your phones on vibrate or silent so that way everyone can have full access to everyone's comments.
I don't have to reiterate what others have said and commented on about not having a plan, not having a pro forma to show how this $114 million is going to be spent. There's a few lines and a couple pages that were given in the agenda, but this is nothing like what people should have, and you should have, counsel, to make a decision such as this. I am familiar with the gentleman, Mr. Brian Leffler, who's here today, and from Miller Canfield, and I know that they are professionals, and they would have given us all the options and the information that should be had to make an important decision like this. But there's a pattern in this administration that seems to be developing, and that's it. The council, you have brought things at the last minute, things of such importance, and they bring it to such a timing, and they say, the sky is falling, you have to decide on it right now. And that's an insult to the people who are going to have to pay that. And it's an insult to you, too. So this is something that has a magnificent impact for the city. As the past mayor who came into the city, when we were in debt, we were almost bankrupt, so many people had lost their homes, lost their jobs. We had to struggle back to make good decisions to get back into financial stability so that we could leave a surplus to the incoming administration. So to make an impromptu decision like this on such an important matter that can indebt the city and impact the citizens for 30 years without having enough information, without having a plan, is reckless, given what we've been through. As they say, where there is no plan, the people perish.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Mr. Chuck Johnson, and then Larry Jasper next.
Thank you very much, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very much appalled at the fact that this would come forward, even from Tuesday night's meeting, because I don't think it's a fair move on the part of the administration. This could have been knocked down, but I understand what one of the speakers said. Something has to come sooner than later. But even the governor of the state ran on the fact of fix the damn roads, and it never happened. The roads are still bad. We're paying for higher gas prices at the gas pump only because the governor said fix the damn roads, so she taxed us some more. My next statement about this whole issue, Mayor, is that when the county comes and takes over the city of Pontiac like they plan to do, how are we going to be assessed then? How are we going to be taxed then? These are things that we need to look at. Thanks for keeping my time. These are things that we need to look at and consider. Not just wait at the 11th hour and then throw something at us that we all don't agree with. Last Tuesday, Councilwoman James, you asked a question about how much money this would impact the homes. Right away, the mayor went and pulled up on his desk. He pulled up the document that already was prepared for you guys to look at, because then it wouldn't be any question about what the tax rates were going to be. This was just a document that we all should have had visibility of, but we didn't. We didn't have this before the meeting. Well, anyways, I know that a lot of folks want to speak on this issue. I've said my piece, and I'm satisfied, but I hope that this council thinks about all of these citizens out here that's going to be impacted by this. Thank you, including Chuck Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Larry Jasper.
Good evening, everybody. You guys decided you wanted to, or the mayor wanted you guys to approve the council $114 million in less than 10 days. Tuesday was the first time anybody heard about it, and with the response from the council members, obviously you didn't have any information on it because you asked for things that weren't prepared. That's almost impossible to believe that you would go ahead and approve today because you want to get it on the ballot with the marijuana approval. That ballot will probably only bring 10% of the voters to the polls. If you're going to really approve this and have the citizens of Pontiac approve it, you should have it in 2024, in the November election. Give yourself some time. Run through everything. Find out if there's a way that you can take $30 million of that 110 and actually take care of all the roads, a temporary fix, so everybody's enjoying the benefits. But when you take a look at what's going to cost the citizen, that's huge. You've got Biden bucks coming in, and Biden economics isn't working. You ask anybody that's just barely making it, and they're using the credit cards right now. So now you're going to go turn around and hit them with another $200, $300, $400, $500. We don't even know what the price is yet. That's impossible. You know, I brought to this city a partnership where dividends would be paid out to citizens. They may have been able to afford this kind of a tax where they'd be receiving. You know, Southfield just got a new Costco. And they ran a deal through the council where residents had to be 40% of the employment. You know, I hear these things happening all the time. People are always arguing about these kind of things, and nothing's ever happened where the benefit to the citizens who've been here all their lives and have gone through all the hell. So we should do something for them. And I intend to fight for it. I tell you right now that if you did something like that where you had some money coming in, these people could actually afford to pay the dues, they would want the roads fixed, and they would pay it. When you do stock ownership with a partnership, they're able to actually turn that into their children. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Jasper. Ms. Darlene Clark and Ms. Gloria Miller on deck.
Good afternoon, audience, TV people. My name is Darlene Clark, and I'm speaking basically to the public, for the public's ears. Council, you can take this under consideration, you as well as mayor. Gentrification is a process with the character of poor urban neighborhoods. is changed by the wealthier, people moving to improving housing, attracting new businesses, and typical displacing current inhabitants, which is the poor people. Pontiac consists of 35 to 40% homeowners. The rest is 60 to 65 renters. Pontiac consists of 20.5 miles. Pontiac also have 550 streets. According to past mayor and present past council, it takes $1 million to complete a mile of repairing a street. To divide that in half, out of the 550 streets that we have in Pontiac, only 207 will be covered. Now, the governor did say fix those damn roads. She didn't say fix the damn streets. Now, in fixing the streets, the mayor would like you to believe that he's doing all this improvement to help the citizens of Pontiac. But for 40% residents, how are you helping them? Once again, mayor, council, and the people who's listening, do not vote for this millage. Do not pass this. The $114 million to be put on generations of family members to obtain something that they're trying to gentrify the city of Pontiac, it's not feasible. It's nowhere feasible. The lack of respect in showing the people to show you this is gentrification, our mayor and council didn't even have the nerves to bring it to it like they say. They didn't even have a meeting to even approach the people with it. Council, you need legal representation. Tim Grimer is a political person, and he's an attorney. I cannot say that, and I have said that many times before. You need to cover your assets, which is your backs, and I understand my time is up. But you need to cover yourself, because once Tim Grimer is out of here,
Your time is up.
you have to live with us.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller.
First of all, Council President McGinnis, I had a senior to stop me coming into City Hall. The trash on Pike, between Pike and Auburn, has not been picked up. And I'm sure you'll handle that. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. I told him I would mention it. Again, I'm talking to the resident. Tuesday was the first day we ever heard of this. Now, I'm sure even the people that we all don't agree on policies. But this is a pattern. See, I've been coming here from day one when this council came here, when this administration came here. This is just one project that you guys figured out. They've been doing this for a while. There's a lot of things been going that didn't come to the people. You can't do anything without us. We the one put you there. Not one person that Tuesday said, you know what, Mayor, we're going to take this to our districts. We're going to have town halls. We got to wait and see what they want. If you had did that, you wouldn't have a word for me, because I work for the people. That's all. I work for people. Because being an elected official, you're a servant. You serve others. A lot of people can't do that. They serve themselves. You're serving others. I'm not even a council person, but I still take care of my people when they come to me if they got an issue. If they hurt, I hurt. And what you're doing is absolutely asinine crazy. 2 days later, having a meeting between 18 hours for the people to digest with no plan, with no direction of what street you're going to do. You don't know anything. And then you put it on there with marijuana because you're hoping that all the young people will come and they vote for the marijuana and then they'll look at the bond issue and they'll just check that yes. Good strategy. The only thing you guys keep doing, you misinterpreting us. We are smarter than you think. And I'm like this. You fooled me one time, shame on me. Shame on me. Fooled me twice, shame on us. The mayor got a pattern, and it's not about the people.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Bass.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Bass, Citizen District Council President, and I'm here to speak on the number one item, which is the bond issue, and it's going to encompass something else as well, because we're a little tired of telling our representative the same thing at every meeting that we come to. We're not council people. We can't be here every day and go through your packets. We don't even get the packets. But we're sick of coming to public hearings and pop-up meetings of somebody getting an epiphany and then scheduling a meeting in 18 hours. And we have to get phone calls. We don't get the emails. We get phone calls let us know that there's something going down. Perception is a lot when it comes to seniors, especially in our district. I'm going to say our district because I live in my district. I can tell you that. But bottom line is that perception is that you're trying to slide something by us when you continuously do the same thing. You bring up things at the last minute that we have no idea as to what's in it or what it's about. And you say, well, will council pass it? Once y'all pass it, we're done. Y'all are our last line of defense when it comes to policies. And y'all are our first defense when it comes to our finances. If y'all do not watch our finances, we're going to be in just as big a trouble with this as we are Village of Bloomfield. And you know what I'm talking about because we got 35 years before we'll see anything from over.
Thank you, sir. That concludes agenda address, President McGinnis.
All right, next on the agenda, item number 1. There is a resolution to approve road and road facilities bond proposal for the February 27th, 2024 presidential primary ballot. And just to set the table, we don't normally have 2 meetings in 1 week. It's not our intention or desire to be convening multiple times in 1 week. I want to thank the Charter Revision Commission, who had been scheduled to have a meeting tonight. They had planned to move their meeting into another part of City Hall, and ultimately that meeting is not taking place tonight, but that was very magnanimous of the members of the Charter Revision Commission. This was a resolution first brought at the regular City Council meeting on Tuesday evening, so that is when it was considered. City Council wanted more time to be able to further research, review, and receive information and feedback from the community. The city charter requires that if proposals such as this go on the ballot, the City Council has to authorize them proceeding to the ballot. So that's the action, as some of you in agenda address already alluded to. You're well aware of that, but just want to reemphasize that this is not deciding the outcome of the bond. It's about saying, will it be permitted to be placed on the next election? And that's true for the next resolution as well. And we'll provide context for that as well. But Clerk Doyle, I first want to confirm, do we need a new move and second? There was a motion and a second from this resolution that took place on Tuesday evening's meeting. We postponed it to come up at this meeting. But would it be in order for us to have a new move and support to even debate the motion, considering I think there's been some slight language changes?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay, concerning the language changes, I will seek a motion from a City Council member to even begin debate. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the road and road facilities bond proposal?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, second by Councilman Parker. So now it can be debated. So we'll give the floor first to Mayor Greimel, since he and his administration have submitted this proposal for consideration for him to make his case to City Council and the community. Mayor Greimel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Stevens, who's been very diligent in compiling information to answer some of the questions that City Council asked on Tuesday. And so I want him to present the information that we've compiled and answer to City Council's questions. I know we talked quite a bit on Tuesday, but I want Deputy Mayor Stevens to walk Council through the answers to the questions.
You have the floor. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council President. So the first thing that I want to do is, I guess, just clarify the meaning of why we brought this resolution on Tuesday and why we are now here today. We are, in fact, asking if a proposal should be put on the ballot. We are not asking today for an increase in taxes. We are asking today for the opportunity for the citizens to hear the entire reason, and then the citizens will make the decision whether or not they want to pay another 4 mills. So today is, and Tuesday was not about making the argument for, yes, we think that you should increase your taxes. This was to say, we would like you to have the opportunity to hear the full range of information of why we did that. And so with that, I will go forward with starting to answer some of the questions that had been brought up. And the reason why this information had not been originally presented, again, is because it was not our intent to make the argument for the millage increase. It was our intent to make the argument that residents should have the option of deciding if they wanted to have a millage increase or not. So the question was, one of the questions that came up was, how much money does the city currently receive for road maintenance? And the answer to that question is, in this current fiscal year that we are in, we received $6,355,098.48 to go towards major roads. We received $1,928,780.85 to go towards local roads. Now, both of those numbers sound quite large, but I need to put that into perspective. With both of those numbers, we have to hold back a portion of that so that we have money to match state and federal dollars for other projects that we may do. Additionally, out of all of that money, that is how we pay for any road patching, any road repair. That is how we pay for all of the DPW employees. The 5-year average on those numbers that I just read you is actually 9% and 7% respectively less. So this year happens to be a high year. We got more money this year than we normally would expect to receive. And those are Act 51 dollars. Additionally, there are approximately 1,028 lane miles under the city's jurisdiction. So when we're talking about roads and how much road needs to be repaired, there's approximately 1,000 miles of roadway that the city is responsible for maintaining. The average cost of rebuilding, so if you have to totally rebuild a lane mile, right? So the road is in such poor condition that you can't just put patch on it, you can't make a minor repair, you need to go all the way down to the base. And many of our roads are in that condition. The average cost to rebuild just 1 mile of road is $3,216,000. So I bring all of those numbers to say that we understand that it is a lot of money that is being requested, but we also want to be clear and direct with the public that this ultimately is not the decision of myself, the mayor, or the council. It is the decision of the public. Do you want to have this done so that we can improve the roads? Without doing some millage, we will not have the money to move the roads from the conditions that they are in to decent conditions. Additionally, every year that we delay doing this, the next year it is going to become more expensive because more roads are going to fall from a fair or a good position to a poor position, which means they will slowly move from the place where we can do preventative maintenance or minor repair and move to the place where we need to do major repair. Some of the questions that specifically came up tonight. One of the questions was, at $114 million of bonding, does the city have capacity to do additional bonding? The answer to that question is yes. We estimate without inflation and, regular increase in property values and new properties being built, that we could levy up to $270 million. So there is excess capacity, and there are things that are on the books that would increase our capacity, and there are things that will be falling off that will also increase our capacity to borrow. The question came up about what segments of the city will be done. And now I have to say, this plan is based over a 30-year period. I originally, when I was dealing with the engineers, asked to do it in a 10-year period. And they were very clear that even if we had the capacity to borrow enough money to redo all of the streets in 10 years, we don't have the capacity physically to do that, because Pontiac is not large enough to have enough alternative routes that we could do all of the streets of Pontiac in 10 years and actually have traffic flow throughout the city. So we intentionally said, all right, if it would cost us approximately all of our borrowing capacity, because it would cost approximately $280 to $300 million to bring all of the roads up to a good and fair condition. The proposal that is in front of us today would bring approximately, so currently only 23% of the roads that are under the city's jurisdiction are at good or fair condition. Only 23% of the roads under the city's jurisdiction are at a good or fair rating. All the rest of them are poor and deteriorating. The proposal that is being presented to go on the ballot for the residents to get more information on and decide in February, we estimate would bring that number up to 60%. And again, that is 4 mills. We estimate that it would have been 8 or 9 mills to be able to bring all of the roads up to good or fair condition. It is very true that as of today, as we sit here right now and speak, I cannot tell you exactly which roads are going to be done. And there is a very simple reason for that. One is we are currently working on a complete roads master plan, and that complete roads master plan will be turned into a governmental agency that oversees all of the cities next year. The second reason is, without knowing or having an idea of whether or not the citizens want us to bond for additional money, to know how much money we have to put together this plan, it made more sense to wait and see, are we going to have bonded money? And that way we can say we know how much money we have and we can prioritize which roads to fix. If we find out that the citizens do not want to do this millage, then we will have a very, very different plan that we will put together. So we will put, if this millage goes on the ballot, we will put together a plan that will say, here, generally speaking, is what we are planning to do. Here are the list of roads that are under consideration. Once we know for an absolute fact that we have the money, we will go even deeper into that plan and prioritize which streets get done in what order. Without knowing that we have the money, we will be putting together a completely different plan that we will be presenting to our oversight agency. And Mayor, I believe that is all of the information that I have compiled.
Thank you, Deputy.
Anything further before we deliberate?
Yeah, I want to emphasize a couple of key points here, and some of these I mentioned on Tuesday as well. The most important number here is that 77% of the city's lane miles are in poor condition. We have 1,028 lane miles in the city. And that means that 791 lane miles are in poor condition. Roads that are in poor condition are generally recommended for complete reconstruction. And as the deputy mayor said, complete reconstruction costs a little over $3 million per lane mile. So you can do the math. $3 million per lane mile, 791 lane miles in poor condition. And the roads didn't get in this bad a shape by accident. They got in this bad a shape because past mayors, past city councils were afraid to have this conversation. And every year that goes by that we don't invest in our roads, they get worse and worse and worse. They don't stay the same when we don't invest in them. They get worse and worse and worse. And that's why we believe not only that we need a large investment, but also that we shouldn't be putting this off, because putting it off just makes the problem get worse, just makes the problem get more expensive to fix. And so if we're not passing 4 mills or at least offering that option to the voters, it's only going to get more expensive and require more mills down the road. No pun intended. And so this is really an urgent problem. And I think residents know that our roads are an urgent problem. Everywhere I go, people talk about the terrible shape that the roads are in, and they're right, they are in terrible shape. But the amount of money we receive from the state through the road funding distribution simply is not enough to come anywhere close to making the...
Mayor, I've got to stop you. If all side conversations could cease, you certainly can have extended personal conversations in the hallway or outside of this meeting. Mayor Grimo has the floor. We want to keep the meeting flowing.
We simply do not get enough money from the state through the Act 51 funding distribution formula to move the needle in a positive direction. And you heard some of those road funding distribution numbers, but the large majority of the money we get from the state are for roads that are designated as major roads. And that's a designation with the state. That money, which is, roughly, $6 million, give or take, can only be used on major roads. A very small number in proportional terms of our roads are major roads. The vast majority of our roads are called city local roads. And the annual amount of dollars we get from the state through their funding distribution for that is about $2 million, a little under $2 million actually. And 1 lane mile costs over $3 million to reconstruct. And the vast, vast majority of our neighborhood streets, the streets that have been most neglected in the past, are those local roads that we only receive less than $2 million from the state every year for, which doesn't even pay for reconstructing 1 lane mile when we have many hundreds of lane miles in our neighborhoods that are in terrible, terrible shape. And so we've put together a list of the PACER ratings. We've distributed that to City Council. And PACER ratings of 1, 2, 3, and 4 are deemed to be in poor condition. That's in a rating out of 10. As you can imagine, with 77% of the city's roads in that poor condition, the vast majority of neighborhoods, the vast majority of the city is in tough shape. And that's why we are coming with a request of council to put this option before voters. We would like, by the way, too, as part of this, to try to find a resolution finally for some of those neighborhoods, Galloway Lake Estates, Fieldstone, Stonegate, so that they can actually have a path forward so that the city can do what's right by them after their developers left them high and dry a number of years ago. And we all know some of the big ticket roads that have been in tough shape and have been neglected for far too long. I'm happy to say that next year, we're going to be doing Bagley and Gulf Drive no matter what. Next year, we're going to be doing Martin Luther King between M59 and Perry no matter what. But there are a slew of other roads that are household names in Pontiac because they're in bad condition. Paddock, Earlmore, Kennett, Walton, east of Baldwin, is in tough shape. Voorhees. These are roads that aren't even currently planned to be done because we don't have the money to do them. If we get this additional revenue, we can take care of those roads as our residents deserve.
All right, so the matter is now before us. First on the speakers list, Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. First, I'd like to thank the administration for emailing me the past report, but I definitely find that it was sort of incomplete from what I've seen from previous cities. I understand the ratings, but it was no recommended treatment per street in what you sent to council. So it's really hard for me to determine whether something needs little or no maintenance, crack sealing, minor patching, structural improvement or overlays, or total reconstruction. One of my problems that I have with this particular, I know that we're just trying to put it on the ballot, but for me to go back to my district and say, you guys should support this in my meeting, which I have Friday, and I really didn't have a conversation with them at all. I was hoping to have one with them. 30 years for 114,000. Oh, no, 14 million. It's just, for me, it's just not good policy to put it on the citizens for 30 years. I've seen a school district do it historically, and they was able to get bailed out by the state of Michigan. But the state is not going to bail the city of Pontiac out. We understand that we need to do something about roads. I would rather see it piecemealed. I'd rather see it piecemealed until we can get the trust of this community. And that's one thing the school district had to learn. Until you can get the trust of the community, then you can go out and ask for $100 million. Our first sinking fund was $35 million, so we can get the trust of the 7 cities that support that district. 4 meals is a lot. And I have received texts all day concerning this particular matter from my seniors. And you stated that if we don't go 4 meals, then we can't really have no impact. But I also think that any impact is an impact moving forward. If we say 60% is bad or poor, why not shoot a reasonable number that we can get done in 3 to 4 years, and then work on the rest at that later date. And I look, also, I seen streets, I'm missing some streets in the 6th district with a lot worse roads that wasn't on your list that I received in the mail too. So I'm kind of not understanding why those streets are not on that particular, those lists. But I could email you that as well. I don't know where my district stands, honestly. And for me to go to the people and get it voted down is actually worse than not putting it on the ballot, is how I feel. Thank you.
Councilman Goodman?
So I do want to ask a question because I think there was some information that was in the email that would probably be important to this. So from the list that I saw, from the Transportation Asset Management Council, based on the PACER rating, there is a prescribed course of action based on the number assigned by PACER. Is that correct? So, for example, going through almost every road that's in this spreadsheet and on this list, District 3, almost every road that is in my district would be at a 3 or a 2. And in that case, based on the Transportation Asset Management Council, most of the roads that are in District 3, if I were to do rough math based on what I have been able to go through and mark up, would be almost about 80% of my district, if not more, would need, based on the prescription, reconstruction. There are some roads, like, for example, Jocelyn, that is at a 7 or an 8 that would likely be prescribed to preventative maintenance because it's in decent condition still after having not been done not that long ago. So I mean, at least for the perspective of District 3, I have talked about specifically the PACER scores and the road quality with the residents of my district relentlessly for 2 years. I have knocked doors about this, both when I ran for office and since then. I have talked to residents repeatedly, and most of my residents, in their fact about complaining about roads, support us doing something about the roads. But, and I've had this conversation with the mayor privately and in these meetings, that a thing that is being brought up by the public is this is a large project. We have yet to complete one of those. It is very difficult for them to have faith and trust in us to do these larger projects because we've yet to complete one. And again, that is compounding into another meeting where it is on full display that while this may be a good thing, it is difficult for us to get them get the people on our side because they don't have faith in us to be able to do it. So I would stress heavily to the administration to spend the time that we are in this meeting, because again, we're not making a decision today on behalf of the people. This will go to the ballot. But please do know that the ability to over-explain and give every bit of detail that you are legally allowed to do would probably be massively important in this meeting, because the people need to understand just as well as at least I do, based on the information, a lot of my residents do as having heard me talk about this. But every district is not the same. So please take the time in this meeting to make sure that some questions that were asked during agenda address truly get responded to, because I think they are massively important for the understanding of this.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councilman James.
Yeah, I appreciate administration working to get some of the information that we did request, and I do have. First, I want to clarify. The council did approve a road study. How many months ago was that, that the road study was approved? This is not the first time that we've heard this. We have discussed this as a council with the mayor. We approved this road study, in anticipation of making this request of voters to see if they wanted to to pay for road repair. This study was requested months ago, and so it's not, I just want to clarify, it's not like this is a total surprise to us, because road repair was one of the top issues that residents are concerned about, and you can only patch so much. Every winter, we have people who are replacing tires in our city because of really, really bad roads. So I just want to clarify that this is not the first conversation that we have had about this. The concern, though, was that it did not go to subcommittee, which I believe it should have, and we should have had more time to go through the details of what the study proposed, and I would have liked to have seen really an executive summary of the Excel spreadsheet. Generally, when you are paying for a study of that magnitude, it would include an executive summary where you're summarizing your data for people to really understand what you are looking at. But, I realize, as Mayor has said, that we are attempting to bring this before the residents. I do feel, though, I share others' concern that this 30 years is a long time to obligate our residents. 4 mills is, I believe, really high. And I think we just have to balance the need with the obligation. And I think as a council, that's where we would play in of giving our assessment of, does this need match what we are asking our residents to to pay. I would like to see us really revise this proposal. I would like to see us make it more, in fact, we didn't talk about the recommendation that Bears gave in terms of the 3 series, that you're staggering these allocations over 3 series, and each series, being a certain amount of money and going out for a period of 30 years. So I would recommend that we start with Series 1 and that we implement a ballot proposal on the basis of Series 1 only. That would be my recommendation.
The question that you asked, Councilwoman James, I believe it was about 2.5 months ago that City Council would have authorized the DLZ firm, but it could have been about 2 months or so to authorize the DLZ firm to undertake a roads master plan and assessment.
Yes.
But it sounds like we may want to have Mr. Lipscomb and or Mr. Baird or Mr. Leffler on behalf of Baird share what's the thought process behind 3 series? What's the pros and cons of that? So that way we can, because she raises an excellent point, we didn't go in depth on that on Tuesday. So if you could share that.
Certainly. Good evening. Thank you, Council President, members of Council, and members of the administration. My name is Ron Lipscomb. I'm an attorney with Miller Canfield. We serve as bond counsel for the city. I think there's been a lot of very good comments and questions tonight, and I do think that it would help if I, am able to indulge you and share a little bit of my personal experience with doing this in other communities. The unlimited tax general obligation bond process is one that is undertaken quite frequently, particularly for road projects, because of the unique nature of the infrastructure that is being built. Oftentimes, and I've presented this, I can't say hundreds of times, but certainly dozens of times to different city councils and township boards, et cetera. And I've actually had township boards or city councils, make a comment that this is kind of the easiest vote that they can ever take, because it really is putting a question directly to the voice of the voters. It is a, really direct democracy. And someone even made a comment one time that by not voting to put a question on the ballot, they're taking away the voice of many of their voters who won't have a chance to say anything. But one point on costs, the one thing I think is important to understand, and I'll let Brian take over if he wants to jump in on this, but the inflation costs on road projects in particular has gone up exponentially higher than CPI over the past several years, and that's for a number of reasons. Obviously, CPI is a function, but in addition to that, there is a shortage of labor, and there's a lot of money being dumped into infrastructure right now. I would venture to make an educated guess that if you were to propose these same projects 10 years ago, you would have been spending half as much as it will cost now. And one thing that's for certain is that those costs are never going to go down, and the roads are never going to get better. Okay, so status quo is deterioration. But the way that these UT bond processes work is there's a vote, like what's being asked of you tonight, and then there is an education process, okay? The city cannot use public funds for advocacy. They can use city funds to just simply present what is being asked and what is being planned, okay? Certainly there will be town halls, there will be people for and against it, and that process 99% of the time happens right before the election occurs, okay? The one thing about the way we frame these questions is we do it broadly. We do it with enough sufficient detail to allow people to know what they're voting on, but we do it broadly because you never know what's going to happen. There may be a water main burst or anything like that that changes the dynamics of the plan. Procedurally, what happens, this is the first of many votes that the public will take and you will take. We talked about doing maybe 2 or 3 different resolutions or series of bonds. What that equates to is that you will have at least 2 or 3 more times to vote on this. And the way this process works is once the authorization is granted, that's just the beginning. This is the very beginning of the process. It is not late at all. Because what happens is once the authorization